In this video, we are going to carve this 35-day dry-aged filet mignon. I'll show you how I'm going to freeze it and how much meat you can expect to get out of a filet of this size. Why it's tied up, why the ties are so loose, and why I did what I did with this particular piece of meat. So stay tuned. Unfortunately, I don't remember what this weighed when I put it in, but you can see it's very solid. It looks like a giant piece of salami, actually. I put it in an UMAi bag, which I know you're all likely familiar with, and I tied it every 2 inches or so because I wanted it to maintain a round shape. In the past, when I've done a fillet, I've had it kind of settle, and you end up with a not very attractive oval fillet. So I tied it up, and you can see how loose all of the string is. This is just butcher's twine, and it's loose because the thing shrinks significantly. So let's go ahead and peel the UMAi bag off. The smell is amazing. It smells like a deep, rich meat smell. It's not at all greasy. It's rather hard. It's kind of like a beef jerky texture. And I'll definitely end up with some type of tips here at the end because you can see how narrow it gets. But let's just go ahead and cut in and see what we've got. Oh wow, look at that. It is just amazing. Looks delicious. So because they've reduced in size by so much, I'm going to cut them rather thick. So probably that looks about good. And I'm going to trim the bark off separately. And I'll show you what I mean. Actually pretty impressed at the size. Now this is where we're gonna just get really pretty little once I trim the bark off. In fact, a lot of times I just turn the end here into scrap. Okay, so we ended up with 2, 4, 6, 8 servable steaks out of that fillet, and it was a rather large fillet. I can't remember the weight, so I'm not going to worry about it, but just to give you an idea of what you lose here. All right, so now we're going to trim it, and all I'm doing is really just going back to the dark area. So I want to keep a little bit of this dark is fine, but I want to get rid of anything that just looks funky from the outside. go. That is beautiful. So we got it about 1.5 inches thick, about the size of my hand. And that is ready to freeze. You know, I have never actually eaten them right from the dry aging. I always freeze them first, and you know, I just feel like if there's anything that could get you sick, you know, like when you freeze salmon, if you're gonna eat it raw, you just freeze it first. I feel more confident that nothing's gonna happen to get me sick. Is it necessary? I honestly have no idea. It's just what I do. So this is it. This is all there is to it. I'm gonna just cut out this extra here. You end up with some really just amazing looking steaks. These do not smell as pungent as a ribeye or a New York strip, and it's likely because of the lack of fat in the meat. But I'm just guessing. I really don't know why it doesn't smell. I mean, none of it's ever a bad smell. If you ever did this and you have like a rotten smell, you should probably not eat it. But this is just kind of a beef smell. There we go. We do have a little gristle right in here. I'm gonna cut that. I don't wanna get this one too small. Funny thing about a piece of meat this size, you know, you would think that it wouldn't fill you up, but because this has less moisture in it, a 20 to 30% smaller piece of aged meat is going to fill you up much more than a larger size that hasn't been aged. I know that because I would cut them really just too thick and nobody could ever finish them. You know, it's just a denser piece of meat that you're trying to get down. All right, that's all there is to it. You can see the really getting some nice chunks here. So what I'm gonna do is freeze these on a cookie sheet first, because if I shrink wrap them, they're going to get squashed, and I don't wanna do anything to squash them. So even just on this plate, I think what I'll do is just lower this plate down into the freezer. And freeze them partially outside of the bag. That way they're harder, they'll stay put. I did that recently with stuffed peppers. I froze all the stuffed peppers on a cookie sheet, and then once they were frozen, transferred them into the freezer bags. Not only have they kept beautifully, but they have, they keep their shape, they don't get squashed. So that's about the smallest. So I was able to get 2, 4, 6, 7, really 6 normal portion size, what I would consider normal portions. And then we've got 2, this one's going to produce another one that looks like this, probably even smaller. And then I've got these 2 pieces, which this one is probably waste. There might be some meat in there, but this will become just scrap, and these are the 2 ends. So let me just trim this real quick. Out of a full fillet, 6 portions, 1 petite portion, and then this I'm going to turn into scrap along with whatever I get out of these 2 pieces. And I'll freeze this in chunks and use it for, you know, stir fry or something. Anyway, that is what you can expect from a 35-day New York strip. I'm sorry, filet mignon. I can't wait to eat these. They look so delicious. And the meat is just, whew. well, you judge for yourself. Very impressive. Okay, here we are next day, and I wanted to show you how these ended up after freezing. And here's what you get. So, really good portions, rock solid, frozen. Here's the scrap. This is what I ended up with. So, you know, this and some of these shrimp, maybe a octopus antenna. I've got some lobster in here somewhere. Here we go. That and one of these tails. That would grill up beautifully, for sure. But what I really wanted to show you is this is what you get. This is the end frozen result here. And freezing them first, you can see you really maintain the thickness. You know, the vacuum doesn't squash it. This vacuum really pulls some vacuum, and it doesn't squash the meat when you freeze them first. But you know, 3 meals for 2, and even more if you combine it with some other foods. But anyway, that's what you get. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate the views, and please subscribe. I post new videos all the time.